Welcome to International Securities Exchange's podcast series. Facilitated by renowned educators, ISE podcasts are intended to teach beginning as well as seasoned investors the ins and outs of trading. To find an updated list of podcasts, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts. Please be sure to listen to our important message following this episode regarding the risks of investing in exchange-traded options.
Welcome everyone, this is Steve Meisinger, your host for today's ISE webinar. Today I'm pleased that we have John Jagerson with us. John is a renowned author, Forex trader, as well as founder and contributor to a great website, learningmarkets.com, where he explores different strategies, that's whether it's related to equities, options, Forex, tons of stuff there at learningmarkets.com. So again, I would definitely bookmark the site. And again, free education is nothing better than that. And I really think his website it's awesome because there's something for everyone there. So please check it out. Today he's going to be talking about the advantages of selling FX options. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages to any option strategy, but John will be talking about the advantages of selling FX options. So without further ado, I want to introduce John. I'm going to run through a couple of slides, and then John's going to take it away. John, welcome. Thanks for joining us at the ISE.
Thanks.
Let me just go through the quick disclaimer. A couple things that if you're interested in learning more about options, you can always go to optionseducation.org. Call 1-888-OPTIONS. And again, anything that we say today should not be construed as advice. And any of the examples that we talk about today, John talks about, of course, will not include taxes, margin, or commission. Very important factors. When trading FX options, we've just launched a whole slew of new currency pairs. What we did was take the original and create what we like to say are the classic conventions. So now we're trading the Australian dollar versus the U.S. dollar, and that symbol is there to your right, AUM. We also have the old symbol, AUX. We have the British pound in the classic spot convention, which again is, the symbol is GBP. And we have the Canadian dollar hasn't changed, CDD. We added the euro dollar, and that symbol is EUU. We also still have the EUI, which would be the reverse. We have Japanese yen, YUK. We added the peso, PZO. The New Zealand dollar is available in both US dollar base and quote. So if you're interested in the spot, the way that the spot markets look at it, you could look at New Zealand dollar over the U.S. dollar, and that symbol is NDO. We also have the Swedish krona and the Swiss franc. And anything you can do with plain equity options, you can do with the FX options. One exception is that you can't trade a covered call, but you can trade a vertical spread. So without further ado, again, I want to thank you, John, for joining us, as it's always a treat when you join us here at the ISE. Thanks again.
Thanks. Thanks, Steve. You ready for me to take over?
You got it, John.
Okay. I'm going to share my desktop. Hang on one second. And what I'd love to be able to do is to just get a quick confirmation that everybody can see a chart. Okay, you should be looking at a chart here of the Euro USD. So I've got a chart of the Euro USD exchange rate right now, candlestick chart. Does that look okay to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. I'm actually curious. I have my little attendees panel. Down in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, you all should have a little WebEx module down there. And I'm very curious, how many of the attendees here are Forex traders? How many of you have been trading in the spot Forex? So you've been trading with, a dealer like GFT or FXCM or somebody like that, and you've been trading currencies. Anybody have any experience with that? Okay, so I'm getting a couple of yeses. You can raise your hand or chat yes or something like that. So MB trading, yeah, okay, great. Okay, for 5 years, great, Paul. Awesome. Well, I think this is so. One of the reasons that I'm pretty passionate about Forex trading in general, and I'm actually have been a long time options trader as well. So I find both of them to be not only intellectually intriguing, but entertaining, very interesting, but to be very profitable opportunities or potentially profitable opportunities as well when they're played right. Now, normally I kind of live by the adage that when I talk to traders, they could tell me how many times per year did they trade, and I can tell them about how profitable they were. I'm not generally a big fan of short-term day trading style, very high frequency trading. However, I think that there are some exceptions to that rule, and today's subject, in my opinion, is one of those. So in my opinion, I think that selling options, when it's done as part of a strategy and kind of an overriding idea, underlying strategy behind what you're doing, makes a lot of sense to be doing, renewing trades or redoing trades on a monthly basis. It's something that's fairly simple to do and is very analogous to strategies that are real popular in the equity market. So, for example, way back in the day, I know, and I'm sure my experience wasn't unique. Most options traders get started with buy rights, covered calls, things like that. And I think that's where the idea behind selling options or writing options really starts to click with people. Those same concepts and advantages are actually available here in the Forex. But the reason why I find the Forex so intriguing relative to Forex options is that the Forex is really a unique market. I don't know how to describe it, but sometimes I suggest that it's kind of a see-through market. And what I mean by that is that there are currency exchange rates are very sensitive not only to the relative economic health or strength and monetary policy and things like this from one economy to the other. So for example, right now we're looking at the euro versus the US dollar. So right now the quote that we're seeing over here on the right-hand side, 148.72, that means it's costing $1.48.72 to buy 1 euro. So that's how many dollars it costs to buy a euro. So it's not only something that we can start to grade the strength of one currency versus the other. If the dollar is getting stronger, then this particular trend will go down because it costs fewer dollars to buy a euro. Or if the dollar is getting weaker, which it has been for a while here this year, then this trend should be up, which of course it is, because it's going to cost more dollars to buy a stronger euro. But it's also one of these things that's very, in the currency markets, very sensitive to other intermarket forces. So for example, a lot of people who trade currencies are doing it not necessarily to just trade the value of the dollar versus relative to another currency or what have you, but they're using, they're buying the Canadian dollar and the Mexican peso and the British pound and the Australian dollar every time they think oil and commodity prices are going to go up. Or conversely, they're selling those currencies, so they may be trading a stronger dollar versus the Aussie if they think oil or gold is going to lose value. So it's one of these things that you can kind of access the forces that are at play in other markets, the trends that are at play in other markets like oil or gold or what have you, through the currency pairs that are very, very sensitive to those things. So the Australian dollar is very sensitive to commodity prices, as is the Canadian dollar, the peso to a certain extent. The U.S. dollar is really sensitive to the risk environment out there. So if the stock market, the last couple of years, if the stock market goes down, the dollar tends to strengthen because everybody's kind of fleeing into, they're winding back up into things like treasury bills, really safe assets. So if we were to see another bearish correction in equities, we would expect to see the dollar get real strong over that same period of time as traders seek a shelter, safe haven investments, which tends to drive the value of the dollar up and even things like the Swiss franc up and stuff like that.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. To find more podcasts on options, stocks, alternative markets, and market data, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts.